On Capitol Hill today, which came down from the Supreme Court. Gun owners and activists are celebrating a historic victory in the right to keep and bear arms. A 5-4 decision of the Supreme Court, which overturned a Chicago handgun ban and extended Second Amendment rights to all 50 states and all the cities and towns in them. Joining me now on the heels of their victory in the case of McDonald versus the city of Chicago, our attorney Alan Gura and his client Otis McDonald. Mr. McDonald, congratulations on this victory. Why did you have to sue the city of Chicago for the right to protect yourself, a right that we all thought we had guaranteed 230 years ago?
Well, first of all, let me thank the Lord for giving me the endurance to deal with a case like this and to endure what I've had to endure to get here. Let me thank the attorneys, the lead attorney, Alan Gura, and the Second Amendment Foundation, Alan Gottlieb. Right. I want to thank all the people that contribute, that give me courage and supported me in this, supported us in this. The rest of the other 3 plaintiffs, for instance. But the reason why I had to sue, because I had no other alternative. The gangbangers and drug dealers were taking over my neighborhood. They were taking over me, literally. And I was being threatened. My house was being broken into constantly. Even though I have all kinds of security systems tied into the police station and motion detector lights all over the place. Right. I was still at the mercy of them. All right, Alan Gura, just historically now, why has it taken 230 years for the Supreme Court to say that the Second Amendment finally means what it says? It's an individual personal right, and no government, federal, state, or local, can significantly interfere with it?
Well, for much of our history, we have not had too much gun regulation. Everybody understood that the Second Amendment meant that people had the right to keep and bear arms, and states and localities did not often interfere with this right. Of course, in recent years, in recent decades, different officials thought that they could experiment with our basic rights, right, and that necessitated litigation, and I'm very happy that we've prevailed.
So the city of Chicago, which lets a neighborhood in which your client, Mr. McDonald, live, go to seed, and can't stop the crack dealers and the drug gangs from terrifying and intimidating him, finds its way to stop him from defending himself. Was this a popular move in Chicago when all handguns were banned and then only the criminals had guns?
Well, it was popular among the criminal element, and it was popular among politicians who could say that they were doing something and point to some law that they enacted. But of course, only law-abiding people choose to obey the law, and the criminals were not impacted by this. There's one thing that we know for certain. These laws fail. We've had over 30 years experience with the Washington, D.C. handgun ban. We've had a very long, sad record of experience in Chicago with its handgun ban. And we can say unequivocally that these prohibitions completely fail at making people safer. In fact, they usually make the crime rate worse. But even if... Go ahead. Go ahead, Alan. Now, even if challenging the law is unpopular, even if people could make a policy argument that perhaps it's better that we get rid of all the guns, we do have the Second Amendment that enshrines the policy choice in our Constitution. And if people don't like it, then they can amend the Constitution. But the Constitution is the law of the land, and it does make the policy choice that people have the right to defend themselves in their own homes.
Mr. McDonald, you took on one of the mightiest political machines in the country, the Chicago machine. It has produced 2 very Titan-like mayors, each named Richard Daley. It has produced the present President of the United States of America. What kind of political or social heat did you take because you took on the machine and now beat it in the highest court in the land? Well,
both mayors I have voted for the length of their time in office. And I don't have anything personal against either of them. It's just that I would like to live in peace. I would like to live out my days, the rest of my days, in some kind of secure environment. And in order to try and do that, I had to do what I had to do. I'm sure he will do what he has to do too, also.
Alan, are any regulations left? I mean, this doesn't get rid of registration or assuring that lunatics or ex-felons get guns, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Of course, the city can continue to regulate guns in the public interest. However, they cannot enact regulations that simply are meant to interfere with law-abiding people's desire to exercise their constitutional rights. So we hope that the mayor and the city council will take this decision seriously, that they will go over their laws and make sure that their regulations conform to the Second Amendment requirements.
All right, now,
and if they do that,
I know you're both from Chicago, but this obviously is a nationwide ruling. This probably affects, you know this better than I do, Alan, hundreds of local ordinances and state laws throughout the country, because those political bodies thought that they were not subject to the Second Amendment. So a lot of re-regulation is going to happen now. A lot of laws that were on the books are going to have to go from Maine to California.
That's correct. There are many laws that need to be re-examined, and those laws that serve no purpose other than to interfere with people's enjoyment of their constitutional rights are going to get struck down. Those laws that make a great deal of sense, for example, keeping violent lunatics away from guns, those laws are not going to be endangered by this ruling at all.
Mr. McDonald, you're a hero to people who believe in the right to defend themselves. Thank you for all you did. Alan Gura, thanks very much for joining us.